Greg, so go easy on me. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow members, and distinguished guests, my name is Marcos, and I'm a nutrition major, so I want to talk to you about nutrition. The title of my speech is called War on Nutrition. I'm also a licensed pharmacy technician, so I've got a little bit of knowledge about the things that I'm going to hopefully educate you on. Number one, I want to talk to you about the pharmaceutical industry. Number two, I want to talk to you about the medical industry as it is today, and a little bit of the history. I should have spit my gum out. Number three, I want to talk to you also about why you should care about your nutrition. So without further ado, number one, I want to talk to you about the history of pharmacy a little bit, and about what kind of things that are going on that I discovered in my research. In 1910, the Rockefellers and the Carnegies hired a guy named Abraham Flexner to travel the country and to visit all the medical schools. And keep in mind, this is before the advent of cell phones and internet and advanced technology, so it took him about 5 years. But what resulted was something called the Flexner Report. What I'm implying is that the Carnegies and the Rockefellers have been deeply embedded in the pharmaceutical industry for a long time, since the turn of the century. Now, there's a guy named Dr. Daniel Carlott. He's a board-certified psychiatrist, and he's also known for being a whistleblower. And what he did was he exposed some of the corruption and unethical practices that are still going on today in the pharmaceutical world. And what he did was blow the whistle on a practice where the pharmaceutical companies will actually purchase information from your local pharmacies about the prescribing habits of doctors. They want to know what these doctors are prescribing, and they want to know in what volume they're prescribing. So they've created a grading system called decile 1 through 10. 10 being the highest volume prescribers. And so what they do is they assess who the highest volume prescribers are, and they deploy their pharmaceutical reps to go and talk to these doctors. And essentially what they do is they, quote-unquote, educate them on their pharmaceuticals, their drugs, and they use bribery, essentially, by taking them out to expensive dinners and offering lavish vacations so long as they sign up to speak on their behalf in benefit of the drug companies. So this is still going on today. However, they're doing a very good job of using propaganda and other techniques to mask what they're doing. This leads me into the medical industry, because the medical and pharmaceutical industries are very intertwined. The medical industry is dominated by MDs. MDs practice a form of medicine called allopathic medicine. It's only one type of medicine, and it's not good for everything. Now, let me clear something up though. MDs, we've got some brilliant MDs out there, and they're very good at doing procedures. They can sew you up if you need stitches. They can, heal broken bones and things like that. But beyond that, and they're good at diagnosing too, but beyond that, they're not very well trained on nutrition and preventative medicine. Now, why is that? The funding is coming from the pharmaceutical companies. The pharmaceutical companies are the ones spending millions of dollars on research that's conducted at these medical schools. Now, we've got some brilliant PhD students that work very hard on their dissertations, only to be met with resistance if their findings don't agree with the pharmaceutical companies. So, we have PhD students that often have to find themselves either giving up and just settling with a master's degree, or changing the findings, the results, in their dissertations so they can get their PhD. A guy named Dr. Joel Wallach has been a revolutionary doctor. He started as a veterinarian, and was part of a gigantic study in 1971 and 1983, and it was probably one of the most largest federally funded studies. It was $25 million, where he was involved in over 26,000 autopsies and histologies. He did all kinds of work, and he discovered that there were cures for cystic fibrosis, there are cures for muscular dystrophy, but these things have been suppressed, and he was fired. As soon as he found out and came to the proper people to report his findings about how cystic fibrosis and muscular dystrophy as a result of a selenium deficiency, he was fired. So I see the green card here. I want to go ahead and move into my discussion about why you should care about your nutrition. Ultimately, we are born into this matrix. They are doing a great job of using techniques such as direct-to-consumer marketing. It's called DTC, where you basically can't watch TV anymore without seeing a drug commercial. And this is happening every single day. These drug commercials are very expensive. They're spending millions. And they're very convincing. They're talking about restless leg syndrome, all sorts of things that pretty much anyone can relate to, just in an effort to sell their drugs to you. In Canada, for example, they've outlawed that practice because they believe it's unethical. So I strongly encourage everybody to do their own research and take their own health into their own hands. And that's why I've chosen to not be a pharmacist, but move into nutrition, because that's the best way I know to prevent disease, cancer, and so forth. And I want to touch on one thing real quick. Cancer, alternative treatments to cancer have been outlawed in 47 different states. Ask yourself why. Chemotherapy and radiation are much faster, much more profitable. They're not interested in curing people because there's no money in the cure. These pharmaceutical companies are publicly traded, and their bottom line is profit. Mr. Toastmaster.
And so you see, that's why I don't go to the doctors. Thank you, Marcos. That was very enlightening and absolutely eye-opening. And it's, you know, I've looked into that, or it's very interesting myself, and I will look into that some more. Contract some cancer and do some research myself. Best